Boom. And we are live. All right. Right over here, StreamYard. I'm gonna move you here, YouTube. What's going on, everyone, on this fine Thursday? Man, my days, I get so confused. So, big news for me. No one else cares about this. But we got some new shoes in. Um, these were just released. If you don't know who Jordan Burroughs is, he goes by the handle All I See Is Gold on Instagram. The most decorated American wrestler in history. Again, no one's going to care about this except for me and wrestling community. Not WWE wrestling, but like Olympic style wrestling. So he just released a shoe. Um, the I don't know, limited run of them were uh, in an autographed box along with an autographed um, display card, I guess. So we got some because mine are about worn out from coaching. You know, wrestling season for me when I'm coaching goes from like September through May. So it's a very long season and they get a lot of wear and tear. But anyways, these are the new Jordan Burrow ones. Um the ice golds, and being the reseller that I am, knowing that certain ones, the early editions were autographed, I picked up a couple extra pairs to offset the cost of these. So those will be going on eBay because in the wrestling community, when there's a limited release, especially by someone as well known and popular as Jordan Burroughs, there's a scramble for them. So, um, yeah, I've never had this brand. It's called Rudis, which is the shirt that I'm wearing. Can't really see it. Rudy's, I guess, means way of life. Of course, that's their logo. But yeah. So we'll see how they go. That's actually a pretty interesting show. Again, no one in the Amazon community cares about this, but um, it's probably the most unique sole of a wrestling shoe that I've seen. It's almost like a hard plastic, not really plastic, like a firm, I don't know, rubber grip. You don't see that on wrestling shoes, so I'm excited to try these out. Anyways, that's my nerdery for today. Um, just came in the mail, so I'm kind of pumped about those. But anyways, had some questions lately in regards to VAs, um, hiring prep help. I'm trying to think what other questions. Um, Amazon to Amazon flips. Those have been some of my stories lately. So um, let's talk a little bit about VAs. And um, we currently have um, 5 on our team. Hired the first one in March. So they just completed their 3rd month. And we've used VAs in our business before. Um, and it didn't work out. And here's why it didn't work out, because I was looking for someone. I want to say I was looking for someone to help me free up my time, but in all reality, I was looking for someone to source um, better than I was, OA. And that didn't work out for a number of reasons. One, I wasn't as confident in my sourcing abilities as I am now. And I was hoping that by hiring a VA, that would alleviate my problem because I personally was newer to OA when I hired my first VA. And I thought that just having one would make things better in the business. And we had them for maybe a little over 2 months, and it just didn't work out. So they found decent leads, but the bigger problem was that I trusted somebody else to train them for me before I hired them. It was part of a program. Hey, we have VAs who trained, and they're vetted and all this stuff, and then they're ready to go for you. A couple problems were that yes, they were trained, but their training consisted of basically watching videos um, for like 2 weeks. They didn't have access to Keepa themselves to play around with it and use it and look at it, other than what was being shown to them on the recorded video. They didn't have access to anything beyond probably a free, maybe revenue calculator if they downloaded it. Can't really do much with that if you don't have Keepa or anything like that. Which I found that out after they started working with us, that their training consisted of watching some videos. And the other thing was, and this was on me, this part was really on me, was because they were being provided by this company organization as being pre-trained, they had a recommended payment per hour that you would pay them. Now, that's a whole another conversation about what what VAs are paid in the Philippines compared to what someone pays here, or makes here hourly. But different cultures, different ways of living, different costs of living. And so it was recommended that we pay this person $5 an hour out the gate. Okay, doesn't sound like much, but that actually is a pretty good wage for someone who has really no experience. Absolutely no experience except for watching some videos. I mean, you can go to YouTube and watch videos for 2 weeks and have as much knowledge as they might have had, not having access to actually use any of the tools. And so most likely, my guess, what was happening was I was paying them 5, they were really getting paid 4 by the company. And then the company was keeping the dollar, for the trouble of making these people watch videos and calling it training. So fast forward to this year, and I really did want to start outsourcing parts of the business. So we said, okay, we will hire some VAs again. This time we're going to do it different. We're not going to trust somebody else who have trained them. We're not going to go with the recommendation. We're going to start from scratch. We're going to train them ourselves. We're going to teach them to source the way that we want to source. So now we have 5. We actually just promoted one of them to a lead role, almost a supervisor role, and it's going well. I'm very hands-on in training for the first 2.5 weeks daily. In fact, here in a half hour, have my first call with one of them who's newer, and then another one after that. But very hands-on. In the first 2 weeks, we talk through, and the first month that they're with us, it's really a trial period. It's nothing set in concrete. After the 30 days, then if they're meeting our criteria as far as number of leads, what those leads look like, then we offer them a full-time position. But it's very hands-on. I do put them through I give them access to the OA challenge. And then the first 4 days, I do ask them to watch that. I don't care if they're providing leads at all in the first 4 or 5 days. I tell them, If you can give me 2 or 3 leads a day and that's it, I don't care, especially if you have experience. I prefer to hire people with limited experience because I feel like it's easier to teach them the habits that you want instead of working to replace the bad habits that they might have gotten from previous people they worked with. So we asked them to go through the OA challenge because it's hands down some of the best training out there, teaching somebody how to source uh, doing online arbitrage from a very basic concept. And then after that training period, they're sourcing for us. We don't ask them to source any particular category. The only category that they're not allowed to source is shoes and clothing because we've eliminated that from our business. They can source any other category. Small and light they can source. Wholesale, we have wholesale accounts they can source. We open the doors for them. The reason for that is because what I found is certain individuals gravitate towards certain categories or certain sites, and so we we kind of run the gamut. Every day they get feedback on their leads from the day before, and we let them know, hey, this is buyable, this is close, doesn't we're not, we probably won't buy it now, but it's close, it's missing the criteria for one or two reasons, or this is a bad lead and this is why. And we tell them that we want these buyable leads. Doesn't mean we're going to buy every lead that they provide. Sometimes it's just too many. I mean, there's days where we're getting 40 leads, and if you're getting 40 leads, 30, 40 leads a day for a full month, that's a capital issue at that point. So we do try to have them source stuff that's fairly stable. That's one of the criteria as far as the buy box price. So that way, okay, maybe we don't buy it today, but maybe in 3 weeks we'll come back and we'll look, which ones did we not buy that still look good. And then the incentive for them also to look for those stable leads and not just the BOLOs, the, one hit wonders. Those are good, is that they're able to profit share on the leads that we purchase and sell. So they're eligible after their first full 3 months or after their first full quarter with us. We allow them to profit share. And the cool thing about that is that it's not just the first time we buy that lead, but if we make any reorder, their name is attached to that ASIN when we enter it into Inventory Lab as a supplier. So all we have to do is just put in their name on our profitability report, or I guess supplier profitability on Inventory Lab, and it'll tell us exactly every month what the net profit from all the leads that we've purchased that they've supplied, and then they get a small percentage of that. It's about 2%. And the cool thing, like I said, is that if we reorder those, they still get it. So even though we've just promoted someone to a team lead role, they are now eligible for a profit of the entire team's leads, which gives them motivation to make sure that the leads are stable, because they'll be reviewing the leads, but also any leads that they provided to us before they were promoted that we may reorder, they still get the 2% of that. So it's kind of cool for them, but it's a motivation for them to look for those stable leads. And again, we're very hands-on. We're trained, we train them to get feedback every single day. We do weekly team calls together. I provide them videos of myself even sourcing. So, if one person is struggling sourcing this type of category or this method, I'll make a video. I'll put it in our team YouTube channel that they have access to, and they can watch those sourcing videos just to maybe see something that they might be missing or they haven't thought about. And it just gives them the resource also to be able to go back. Oftentimes, even when I'm reviewing their leads, which I won't be reviewing their leads for very much longer at the end of this month. That'll move over to our team lead. But um, I will record that, and it gives, and I'll record that as a Loom video and then send it to, I'll post it in our team Discord. Um, the thing for that is that they can always go back and reference it, but also if there are leads that are good, they get my thoughts as I'm reviewing those on what I'm seeing on why I really like this lead. Or if it's not a good lead, they hear my thoughts other than just seeing written feedback the next day, but they can actually get that feedback from me as I'm reviewing those. So it helps them have a resource that they can go back and review, but also, um, I'm making content for them. So I'm kind of knocking out two birds with one stone when I do that. And I'll send that to them. Or, like again, they all kind of, the cool thing is they all like different categories. And one of our new hires was asking, because they posted a lead from a fairly popular site that someone else had sourced last month. And so that's one of the things. If someone else has sourced, we just let them know, hey, if the lead's good, it's good, but it was already sourced by so and so. If it's bad, same thing. And so they're asking, well, can we get a list of items that have already been sourced? And I was like, well, that would be hard because we would either have to um, just make one master sheet for everyone, and I feel like that may not be the best way to do it. Maybe it would be, I don't know, but that's not how I think it would work. Best they each have their own sourcing sheet. Um, I said, or we would just have to, like, the day after, just keep saying, okay, all these ASINs were searched yesterday, which is kind of the same thing. But I told him, I said, honestly, it just happens so rarely that the same leads are posted by different individuals that it's really not a problem. It's their first week, so they were like, "Oh, this must happen all the time." It's really not. In fact, our team lead, sitting in on that daily review, and I asked her, I said, how often does this happen?" She's like, "Last month it didn't happen to me at all." I mean, it just happens so rarely. Like it, it might be, it's less than five a month that it happens where someone posts the same ASIN, and so part of that is just because I allow them to source whatever categories that they want, whatever, except for shoes and clothing now. So we have one team member that loves to source, like, tool replacement part sites, and they are some of the most oddball sites. I mean, I if they provide me 10 leads a day, which pretty common. That individual provides about 8 to 10 leads a day. I would say every single day we're probably Googling 6 of them to see if the site's legitimate because we've never heard of it. It just seems like some rando off the wall site. And usually they're all legitimate. Very rarely are they not, but it just, that category just starts to have some niche sites. So they source those type of sites. They're not great at manual sourcing, but they're really good at reverse sourcing, and finding these weirdo tool replacement part sites. Another one. Um, the cool thing was watching this other team member catch their groove because we have a certain set criteria for most of our OA leads. It's $4 minimum profit. And there's some other criteria, bundles, breakable items, things like that. But they were kind of struggling when they started. And then I talked to them about small and light. They didn't even know that was the thing. They didn't know what small and light was. And so I said, well, why don't you try this? Here's a couple sites I know that you can source from. And they took off with it and they've excelled with it. They've they've done really well with it. And then we had some wholesale accounts that I was working on sourcing manually. And I said, well, if you want to try these as well, I mean, some of this is going to be small and light, but also because it is wholesale, the profit requirements are going to be a little bit less because we can obviously buy at volume. And they've taken off with it. Just in the last two, maybe almost 3 weeks, every day that individual has no less than 12 to 16 leads, and they're almost all by the worthy. So what we're doing is like the wholesale accounts, we're just making a list and we're going to make a PO next week, um, for a ton of inventory that they've sourced. Um, Another one of our team members like sourcing more popular items, and I would say more popular sites. Um, and that's kind of cool. Like I said, they all kind of gravitate towards what works for them, and you know, help them understand some of the nuances of these sites or these methods, and that's worked out well versus how it was when I had a VA who was trained by somebody else. Somebody asked me this week, do you think I should use another company to um, basically, you know, provide me a pre-trained VA? And if it was me, I would not, because when you're hiring a virtual assistant, you're hiring them for hopefully the right reason. The wrong reason to hire them is because you're having a hard time sourcing items yourself. Having a VA is not going to correct what you are not good in, because you what will happen is if you can't train them um in the way that you want to source and the criteria that you are looking for, then sometimes if they have bad habits, um those might bleed over, because everyone sources differently. Some people are trained in a way that the person who trains them wants to source, and that works for them, and that's fine. But it may not work for me because I'm sourcing another way. I'm looking for different categories. And so all right, Rekamar working as a VA for Amazon OA. That's very cool. Also pre-trained. That's cool. You gotta know what you're doing. Um But I said I wouldn't do that, because when you're hiring a virtual assistant, you're looking to replicate yourself in a part of the business that you can then focus on another area. So you're basically saying, I'm going to duplicate myself. I'm going to give my other self this part of the business or this task to do, because I want them to do it just as well or almost as well as I would do it. Well, you know how you source, you know what you're good at, you know what you look for, you know the things that you're looking for in leads. But if you don't train them, and there's nothing wrong with these training programs, but if you don't train them, you're going to spend a lot of time wondering why they're sourcing the way that they're sourcing. And like I said, it's not a remedy for what you're not good at. Working with other people requires whoever is the hiring person or whoever is, quote unquote in charge, you have to be willing to kind of take a step down and be willing to invest in them and teach them and train them, not say, here's the job, go do it, and not provide any feedback, not provide any direction, not provide any mentorship. People people need that in a new job, in a new position. People need direction, they need mentorship, they need to feel that, hey, this person believes in me, they trust me, they have confidence in me, and they show me that. I hear stories all the time of people who are hiring virtual assistants, and they get upset after a week or 2 weeks and say, oh, they just provide me trash leads, they just provide me trash leads, I had to fire them. Well, how many how many good leads are you looking for? How many, you know, how many good leads are you finding? Because if you aren't great at sourcing, you're just expecting them to shore up where you're not doing well. Yeah, it's not going to work because you're not taking the time to invest in them. So, like I said, when we bring someone on our team right now, we heavily invest. Um, I spend 2 3 hours a night um, just talking to our new hires, walking through the leads that they've looked at. So, and it's like I said, it's worked well. It did not work well when I did the hands off approach before, in the past year ago. Different approach now. It's heavy investment on the front end, but that's going to pay dividends down the road as they stay on our team. Like I said, we just promoted one to team lead. She's going to do great. Do they source the A to A flips? No, I source those. I don't source very much. I source the A to A flips. They might not even know that's a thing. I'm going to talk to our team lead about it, because we might implement sourcing similar items to what we found recently. I use what repricer to use on YouTube. Someone's asking. I use Seller Snap. So I've used Seller Snap since November of 2021, I think. Yeah, 2021. I've used them. No complaints other than the price, but I'm at the revenue level where it's justifiable. If you're under 25K, it's probably not going to be worth it. But it pays for itself for sure at that level. I've used GoAura prior to that, and it was fine. My issue was that oftentimes, and I've only used, as far as outside of book repricers, I've only used GoAura and now Seller Snap. GoAura, and I've heard this story from other people. I don't know if it still happens, but often it would reprice below what my minimums were set at. So if I had a minimum set of $25, I would be getting sales at $21. So I'm losing money. That happened enough where I really didn't want to try and deal with support, because they were like, well, you can try this and that and this. It's not what I was looking at. A repricer I was looking at to do some efficient work without losing money. So I signed up for Seller Snap. They actually have I think they call it an accelerator program or acceleration program, something like that. And it's either a 3 or a 6 month trial. It's like half the cost. I think it's $250 for the first 3 or 6 months, and you can try it out. So what I did the first month was, I was still using Aura, and I was using Seller Snap, but I basically was still paying for GoAura, but I turned it off, like all the settings, and I just enabled Seller Snap. And the first week and a half, I mean, it was only a few days, I had a $5,000 bump in sales of items that were kind of stale inventory. They really hadn't been, like, these were items that were probably, bumping like 60 to 90 days. And they had just been sitting there. They'd been checked in, just hadn't been doing anything. I put the same minimums, like my minimum pricing, same maximum pricing. All I did was turn Seller Snap on, and it cleared out most of that inventory. And so that really sold me on Seller Snap, was seeing it do and sell through inventory at a profit that GoAura didn't do. And then it did very quick. So yeah, that sold me, and I've used them since, like I said, 2021. It's been great. No repricing issues at all. And I've even been playing around with a little bit of stuff for age inventory recently. Logan on Instagram, what kind of cereal is that? What do you want it to be? It's Ninja Turtle cereal. It's probably stale because it's from the 80s. And then we got He-Man on the top row, Masters of the Universe. Again, probably stale because it's from the 80s. But speaking of cereal, I actually did just eat cereal like 30 minutes ago. I had Captain Crunch Oops All Berries, and it was delicious. Yeah, New Stellar, stay away. I'm seeing a lot of people post on Twitter their affiliate link because they're getting paid for Seller Snap. But it's if it someone recommended it to me. Nate Jackson over at Hustle Buddy recommended it to me. Said if you're doing over 20, actually I think he said between 20 and 30K in revenue, that's when you should try it. And I was doing like maybe 22, $23,000 a month in revenue. So tried it and sold me in the first few weeks. How many VAs do I have? We have five on our team right now. And so yeah, we had six, but one just resigned. I don't think it was going to work out it was his first month. It wasn't looking like it was going to work out. And then he had some personal and some computer failure issues. So he actually resigned. So yeah, five now, and that's good for us for now. I don't think we'll hire another one, maybe for another month or two. So yeah, like I said, we have our daily review call here coming up in about 17 minutes. And the cool thing is my team lead now is in on those calls because I'm really pushing for them to be visible as a leader, mentor, um, person that they can feel as a person of support and kind of authority for them. Um, Checking in on them. Like I said, they're going to actually at the end of this month transition to doing the lead review every day. And that'll go well. What's going to end up happening is, are there going to be leads that'll fall through the cracks that I might have passed and they don't, or vice versa? Absolutely. But I'm not worried about that. Just as the same as I'm not worried about, you know, if all of their leads are not great every day. Like, there's thousands of items for sale on Amazon. There's millions of items for sale on Amazon. There's thousands, hundreds of thousands of websites to source from. We're never going to get to all of them. So, we'll take what we can get every day and, work with that. Let's see. Appreciate that. We're not hiring right now, unfortunately. But yeah, I've trained all of them. What's up, Amazon Force? Shout out Logan Altsberger for his outsource everything program, and that's the guy who really got me thinking about outsourcing, and he's put together a program to teach you how to do that. At Logan Altenberger on all platforms. You can check it out. Great core. I would highly recommend it. It's worked for us. Now, like I said, having virtual assistants isn't going to fix what you're necessarily weak in a certain area. So if you're not great at sourcing, don't expect a VA to fix those problems. If you're not good at leading people, you better get good. You better read some books, watch some blogs on leadership, working with people, because that's, I think, what you're doing is you're building not a solopreneur operation. You're building a small company. It could be 2 people, 3 people, whatever. But you have to learn as you outsource how to lead and how to delegate and how to be fine with other people's mistakes. And also um, give them authority in a certain aspect. So, talking about my team lead again, um, they have access to our customer messaging, feedback, those kind of things. And if a customer wants a refund for an order that is an FBM order, I said, if the order was at this dollar amount and below, You have the authority to make the decision. If you think it should be refunded, you do that. If it's over a certain amount, we're going to ask them to return it, go through that process. So I'm giving them, a little bit of ownership in the business now, a little bit greater stake. And they're going to invest a little bit more into the job because now they have a little bit more authority. Um, so you get training from a boss. That's cool. Get weekly training. Yep. That's important. We do daily feedback. We do weekly meetings. Just OA. No, I do OA. A little bit of RA. Haven't been getting out as much. Very little wholesale. Minimal amount of wholesale. I mean, just we've been making like one order a month, so just minimal. And private label. Private label is actually now maybe 20% of our business. And that's also, to be honest with you, talking about outsourcing, that's one of the reasons why I did start building a team for our OA business, was to really get the OA part functioning without me being in as much hands-on, because I want to focus on the private label side. So for private label, that's just going to take more of my time and attention for me to do it well. So OA can still operate and still be a good portion of our business, but and still bring in income and profit. But that was one of the biggest motivators for me to start hiring a team of VAs. Logan asked, what were some of the biggest takeaways from 75 Hard? Mental was the biggest. The mental strength that helped me with just pushing through the things I didn't want to do that were responsibilities. It's funny because I was like, yeah, I'm probably going to still do a lot of this stuff after 75 Hard. It's been a challenge. I don't even know if I've drunk half a gallon of water every day. I still drinking water. Not really reading as much. Maybe like 3 days a week I'm reading, but I'm working out still almost every day. And so I'm actually doing this thing right now. There's a thing on YouTube called the One Punch Man challenge. It's One Punch Man is an anime character. I don't know anything about anime, but basically he can like defeat any enemy with one punch. So the show goes. And so he was able to get to this level by doing 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 body squats, and a 6-mile run every day for 100 days. I've started doing that this week, but in half. So 50 push-ups, sit-ups, body squats, and a 3-mile run. And I've been doing that in the morning so far this week. So it's been 2 weeks after I ended 75 Hard. It's been interesting. So yeah. What made you decide to add a VA to help? Just freeing up my time. Ultimately, long term, to be able to focus more on the private label. But I can't not just cut out OA and all that stuff. I still need income because this is my full time, job that provides for my family. The income, everything that comes in from Amazon is like 80%, 85% of our family's income. So it is, I mean, I'm grinding every day at it, but I do want to focus on private label. And so hiring a team of VAs is going to outsource some of those tasks. If I'm using a prep center, we're trying to bring some of our prep back in house because we are focusing on more of the small and light, more of the grocery category. And we've hired someone here locally to help prep, which has been really cool. And good. But to free up some of the time, so I'm not spending all my time sourcing. I'm not spending all my time sourcing and prepping, not spending all my time sourcing, prepping, and doing admin tasks like customer feedback, repricing, Now, these are all things that will slowly get off my plate. Hired a law firm on a retainer to deal with IP complaints and account health issues. It's $89 a month, but they handle everything. We got an IP complaint last week. I submitted it on Saturday. We got the complaint on Thursday. I talked to them on the law firm on Friday, submitted all the stuff that they want. It's pretty easy to send them that stuff on Saturday. By Monday, it's gone, and we're already back selling those items. I didn't have to do anything. I just said I had an IP complaint that said send me the information. So, just freeing up time to focus on what I want to focus on in this business. So, how many? Sorry, I'm probably butchering your name, Rekumar. How many leads do you expect from me being a month full time? How much do you buy? We don't we don't require anything for a month. We require what we call 8 buyable leads a day. So, we're looking for more leads than 8 because we want a minimum of 8 that we can purchase that meet our profit criteria, all that kind of stuff. Recently, we've had the issue of having more leads than we feel comfortable buying, just from a cash flow and capital standpoint. So, I've started offering these one-time or kind of one-off lead lists and limited to a certain amount of people, just because they're good. Like, they're leads that I've personally vetted. I've said I would buy this lead, but I'm just not. And speaking of that, looking at my calendar, in 2 weeks, we're going to be launching basically a limited leads list, once or twice a week with some parameter, very limited to a small number of people, probably 8 people, something like that, maybe 10 at the most. And it's going to be good value for the amount of leads. One day will be like 25 leads. I'm hoping maybe 30, 20, 25 to 30 leads. Again, these are just leads that we could purchase. We're just not going to. Some of the places were sites that we've purchased from before, so we trust the sites. We trust the items. But be launching that here the middle of June. Middle of June, we're going to launch that. So that should be pretty cool, helpful for some people. And, some other things are on the horizon in regards to education, content, helping people. I'm looking forward to it. But anyways, guys, I'm going to hop off. Thanks for anybody who is still watching and listening. Thanks for your questions. Appreciate all you guys. I have a daily review call here with first team members. So I'm going to get ready for that, and we will talk to you another time.